the blues scale. You might not have known existed. It used some of the same notes that we use in the major scale. But there's a considerable difference. The major scale derived out of Europe, and the blues scale was brought from West Africa with the slaves, and they might have taken the wire off of a broom, nailed it up on the barn door, and jammed a bottle down on one end or a stick down on one end to give them a bridge, and then used a bottleneck so this note is somewhere in there, right? It's not a flat third exactly, but there. And that's a note that you would get if you were using your ear to find that note that you want, rather than, okay, I'm fretting this B flat. That's what this scale was built off of. One nice part about it, as far as ukulele, is that it uses these fret markers. They're down here. We've tended to ignore them, but you don't need to. You may or may not have a fret marker at the 3rd fret, but you definitely have one at the 5th, 7th, 10th, and the 12th. So if you look here on the handout, we're going to play the A blues scale, and it follows the fret markers and just adds this flat 5 right here. All right. The A major scale, we learned we could get to that with 2-2-1, 2-2-2-1. Well, we could do the same thing with the blues scale if we use different numbers. So this would be 3, 2, 1, 1, 3, 2. But I want you to get this in your ear so that you can hear where those notes are. Let's all play the A blues scale and just go up the 1st string, starting with A, and this is the 1 note, this is the flat 3rd, this is the 4th, flat 5, 5, flat 7, and then 1 again. So that's pretty simple when you lay it out like that and give yourself the fret markers for it. One nice thing about the blues and the blues scale is that when you crunch this all down to the nut, it fits into something called a blues box, just because it kind of looks like a box, okay? And the other nice part is that the A blues scale starts with the A note as your key. So that's exactly what we're playing up and down the fretboard. And so I'd like you to think of it in the root note, the 1 note, then coming up to C, the flat 3rd, the 4th on the 2nd fret, flat 5, 5, flat 7, and 1. And this is why I sort of like this shape of A, using the flatted 7th on the 2nd string. So it puts those together rather than puts these guys together, which is causing some real tension in there. Let's now play the A blues scale. We could start at the 2nd fret on the 4th string, open 3rd string, 2nd fret 3rd string, 3rd fret 3rd string, 2nd string open, 3rd fret 2nd string, and then open A. And then going back, let's use the numbers. 1, flat 7, 5, flat 5, 4, flat 3, and back down to 1. Okay, so that's something that you really want to get under your fingers. When this moves away from the nut, we'll need to finger these. Well, we'll get to that in a minute with the C scale. But the nut is now giving us 4 notes, and we need to play 4 more to get our entire scale. Now, how could we use this to play a phrase or a lick? So that's what's underneath the A blues box there. It's so go ahead and try that, starting with the A. So that walks up the A blues scale, back down, and then gives you this little lick at the end with the A flat 7 and 5. So this is a standard blues box, if you would, and many guitarists use this without knowing what the names of these notes are, or the order of the notes in the scale like this. They just know it works. And 1,000 guitar licks have been played off of this same shape. So you can count on this shape all the way up and down the neck. But I want you to really listen to and hear the root flat 7. It's 5, flat 5. That's flat 3 and root. And some other songs you might want to change from the C scale to an F scale in order to play over that. So let's just go now to the C scale. And again, we could now move from the first string to the third string. Now we have an open C. And if we did the same thing, we followed the fret markers and played it up the neck, we'd have C, E flat, F, G flat, G, B flat, and C. So if you get lost, look for the fret markers. A blues scale, 1 flat 3rd, 4 flat 5, 5, flat 7, and 1. So that's going to be common to any blues scale. And in many jazz songs, you can play Summertime and use this as your way of soloing over the melody. One nice part about the blues scale is that you can play this over all 3 chords. So if we took the same pattern and you could play it with a bar, you don't have to because we're playing individual notes, but you can think of this 3rd fret as where your nut was for the A blues. Now we're up 3 frets. That makes sense. There's 3 steps between A and C, and we're going to have the other thing is your key for finding this is the first string, the note on the first string. So we're looking for a C blues box, we would find this C. So go ahead and try that. Let's start with the 1. If you're going to tune your ukulele, you would use this C that's found on the 4th string and go up to the flatted 3rd, flat 5, 5, 1, flat 7, 5, flat 5, 4, flat 3, and 1. So if you look in between these two, they're the same, except that you are now fingering these notes on the 3rd fret. But once you get this flatted 3rd away from the nut, then you can use it. Then you can change it. So I'm just taking that and moving it. making it a little sharper and a little flatter. So that's what you can do with any of the blue notes, if you will, the flatted third, flatted fifth, and flatted seventh. So we can all see how this A blues box, 3 at the top, 2 at the bottom on the second fret. The 3 frets, you have 3 things. 2 frets, you have 2 things. Okay, and this will work also for G and E on a baritone. The other nice thing about moving the box away from the nut is you have a lower extension of the same blues scale. Now you can continue to use these notes, except start down here. So you can play. And maybe you'll like that better. The 3rd fret is kind of your locator. We learned to play that little lick in A. To play it in C, we need to move it up. You could also play it at the open string using the C there. And have the extension go down and use your lowest note on a ukulele, that G. Go ahead and try this little lick. Try it using the bottom box there, and start on the open C, then playing the flatted third. And now we're going to go to the 4th, flat 5, 5. We don't really get up to the C. This is to flatted 7th, and then back to 5, 4, flat third. How are we doing with that? Let's play the second one. So this is probably the simplest because it puts the 4, flat 5, 5, and the 5, flat 7's there, and here's your 1, your C again. You've got the C blues scale there in front of you. You can play any of those notes any of the time, okay? I'm going to play a song in C. I'm going to play Which Way. Which Way starts on the 1 note and then goes to the flatted 7th. Which way does that? What I would like you to do is to play notes using this C blues box and see, can you have some fun with it, okay? That's the point, and that's how songs are made up. Somebody's goofing around in this and says, hey, I like that. I like the way that goes back and forth. So I'm gonna just play the chord. I'll play you a turnaround. C blues scale. Nice thing, it gives you another chance. One more time. Okay. How'd we do with that? You had fun? Particularly when you get together with somebody, or you could record yourself, or you could take some of the songs from the listening guide and play along with it if you can find a song that's in C. Most of them are written in E because they're written on guitar, and that's analogous to playing an A for a ukulele. So they did the things that were easy, and they had open strings that would ring out. So a lot of songs are written in E. But if you can get a friend and go back and forth and say, okay, I will play chords for a while, you solo. And you go, God, I can't solo. Well, now you've got a roadmap for your solo. Goof around with it. See what, play something, you'll surprise yourself. You'll go, God, I'm a blues god now. Who would have thunk it, you know? And at some point in everybody who's standing up on that stage's life, they said, oh, I got it. I can do this. Okay. So it happened for everybody. In that listening list, there's some great things like Howlin' Wolf explaining what the blues is. And I would encourage you to listen to those. In particular, Howlin' Wolf was at the same time in Chicago playing electric blues with Muddy Waters, and they compete to a certain extent. Some people would play in Muddy Waters band, and then they'd go over and play with Howlin' Wolf, and back and forth. Wolf had really a presence on stage. He would lie on the floor and, you know, go like an alligator if you needed to be. He's over 300 pounds, 6 feet plus, and a big persona on stage, and you can hear him. He's got a great gravelly voice that makes it all happen. And Muddy Waters has always been my favorite singer. Where would we want to key off of if we wanted to play the blues in D? What fret? Well, let's see. C was off the 3rd fret. And so I would choose the 5th fret. Make sure you know what these notes are going up on the 1st string. That would be so helpful. So it's the same thing, just shoved up 2 more frets. Now you can do that for a while, but it's not going to work for just everything. This song, Spoonful by Willie Dixon, was sung by Howlin' Wolf, and very powerful song. And we could play it. It sounds like, it could be a spoonful of diamonds. This is in C. Could be a spoonful of gold, just a little spoon of your precious love, possessed in my soul. And then he's gonna nail down that spoon, that spoon, that spoonful, that spoon, that spoon, that. So try that C to the E flat. I think it sounds better with the C muted. And you could mute it with your thumb. And you might try bending the E flat. If you play it straight, the E flat sounds there. If you play it with just a little bit of bend in it, you don't want to make it back up to an E. So it's an E flattened, but not so much as an E flat. So we have a song, You Got to Move. I'd like to go ahead and play Mississippi Fred McDowell. So let's try this song. The intro sounds like this. So what does that define? So we walk down the blues scale, right? So that was the intro for this song. It's nice to throw this in at the end of the verse. So let's try it all, play it together. We'll go with the intro. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. You may be high, you may be low, you may be rich, child, you may be poor. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. You see that woman that walks the street, that policeman on his beat. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. You got to move. You got to move. You got to move, child. You got to move. When the Lord gets ready, you got to move. So, we have fun with that? Okay. You will get an opportunity on the review sheet to write down the numbers of the notes in the blues box and the names of the notes in the blues box. For both of these two, both A and for C, you'd be writing a 1 on the first string, right? In this case, C, this is a 1, and so we're kind of keying off this first string. We're going to get the location for the C blues box, both above the 3rd fret and below it, off the 3rd fret. The A, we can only play the part that's above the note. This what we're practicing. This is Key to the Highway. I'm just going to share my screen so we can play it together. You can get this in your ear, and this would be in the A blues box, right? So go ahead and run down through if you listen to a lot of the older blues players, before they start recording their song, they'll go, okay. So they've got the chords in their mind. They played through them once, and then they'll go ahead and play the song. But I would go through and get that A. Each one of these pieces, the blues scale and turnarounds, are all pieces of playing a song. And so you start to get the turnaround thing happening a little more. That's one of the reasons for many of these songs I've written the melody out so that you could use that. You don't have to play it the way I've written it necessarily, but you'd use it to develop your own solo. And you might choose to bend a note where you feel like it would be appropriate, see how it works when you start playing the melody. You can either just play with me in A, or play some of it using the blues box that we talked about. And I'll start off with this. I got the key to the highway, build out time to go. I'm gonna leave here running, walking much too slow. I better know. You know you ain't done nothing but good man from home. When the moon peeps over the mountain, I'll be on my way. I'm gonna roll this old highway till the break of day. Now I'm gonna play a verse without singing, and you can solo over that, right? Everybody tapping their foot. Go to the ground again. So give me one more kiss, mama, just before I go. But when I leave this time, I won't be back no more. I got the key to the highway. There's no time to go. And leave you running, walking most slow. Okay, good. So the other thing that I did there was in the last verse, the last line is to slow down. So that will give your audience and your fellow players, the idea is that we're going to stop soon. So let's see. This I talked about what a diddly bow is, which is what that wire nailed on the barn was. And you can see that they could find notes anywhere along the scale, but you sort of chose the flatted third, fourth, flatted fifth, flatted seventh, and octave as your alphabet, if you will, in order to play the blues. So let's now just look at the G blues scale. And we could take this all the way up. Where would G be on the first string? Suppose we want to play it down at the nut, okay? Then we could use what we did on the for C and move it over one string in some. You would play open fourth string. So that's a G blues. So that's one thing that Corey Harris showed me was in order to get some real punch on your, if you're trying to, so I'm playing the fourth string open and the third fret, a G string for the baritones. But in order to get that sort of percussive sound, what you do is you take your thumb and push down on that string until it falls off. Rather than, some people actually have used that sort of pluck that gets the interference with the frets in there, but what we're talking about is pushing down and letting it fall off. But it really emphasized the note. We all clear on the, so will not come by magic. It will come by practice and fooling around with it, and eventually you will not have to think about it. You will be able to play this in your. Have a good weekend. Aloha.
Thank you, Spencer, and I'm glad you